Les Trois Vallées, France, the largest ski and snowboard resort in the world. Courchevel, Mirabel, and Val Thorens. 3 valleys combined into one mega resort. How do you go about doing a video about this place? 1 video on each valley? 1 mega video, which ends up being half an hour? That is just too long. My solution? A simple video on tips in case you decide to come here.
Enchanté.
So the largest resort in the world, huh? How big is that really? Let's do an experiment. Gonna start all the way on the left side of the trail map. Top of the Chairlift lift behind me and the signal lift, which is over here. We're going to make our way all the way over to the summit in Val Thorens on the right side of the trail map. How long will it take? Start time, 10 a.m. We'll take this lift, Roc Mounier. Plan. Depending on where you're staying, if you want to go explore a different part of Les Trois Vallées, it may be far away. And you can't wait until 1 p.m. to say, oh, let's go over there now, because you may not be able to get back in time. So just be smart about it. Figure out where you are, figure out where you want to go explore, and plan your day accordingly to make sure you have enough time to get back. Top of the Pyramid Pommel lift, and we head over to this Roc Merlet chairlift. You get off the Roc Merlet chairlift, and right over here you see another peak. All of this terrain that you can ski or board. Mirabel is on the other side of that peak. Activities. Les Trois Vallées has a lot of them. Like a lot of resorts, they have terrain parks, a bunch of them in every valley. Snowmobiling options, sledding, inner tubing, everything that you would expect, and then some more. At the base at Mirabel Montserrat, they have a snowboard jump with a big inflatable cushion that you can land on. So if you ever want to try to go off of a jump and do some kind of flip in the air, but you're worried about landing and hurting yourself, you can do it there. Another one that's not unique to Les Trois Vallées, but I'm going to do today is paraskiing. Tandem paraskiing. The cost is 100 euros, and I figured, hey, I'll do it once in my life and I'll pay the price. I'm gonna head up to Val Thorens, bite the bullet, and go for it. Let's talk about lift lines. What are they like? Unlike the US and Canada, where you have very defined lanes and you have resort staff who are telling you when to go, when not to go, Europe is just a mass free-for-all. It's a convergence of people from all different angles into one area. If you've never been to Europe and you come to Les Trois Vallées, don't get shocked by how different the lines are run. One more thing about the lift lines. They really are not that bad at all. The entire time I've been in Europe, I've hardly had to wait. Often I get a chairlift to myself. Oh, one more thing about lifts generally is that there are T-bars and pommel lifts here in Les Trois Vallées. Not a whole lot, but if you prefer to avoid T-bars and pommel lifts, it's totally doable. Just be aware of where you're going and what the lift options are, because they're out there. Just got to the top of the Marmont chairlift, and we can now cross over into Mirabel. It's 11 o'clock, we're halfway down into the Mirabel Valley. Just to give you a sense of how big Mirabel is, there's terrain back here. It actually goes further this way, but you can't see it. And then you've got this whole face. This is all skiable and boardable terrain. Just keep panning, yeah, you can ski and board all of that, all of that. Over here is Mont Vallon, you can go do that. And then you've got all of this area that I just came down. Remember, it goes much further that way. That's all Mirabel, a lot of terrain. Our next task is to take this gondola, the Platier gondola, followed by the Côte Brune chairlift. That will take us over this ridge into Val Thorens. From there, we have to make our way to the summit. Most people who come to Les Trois Vallées by plane will fly into Geneva Airport because it's the closest major airport, about 2 hours away. From there you can take a bus, a private transfer, rent a car, multiple options. You just have to figure out what works the best for you from a practical perspective as well as economically. Another thing I'd recommend thinking about when planning a trip to Les Trois Vallées is French school vacations. Why? because that really affects how much traffic there is in getting to Les Trois Vallées. The most important one is probably the Parisian school vacation. It changes year to year, so I can't tell you what date it is, but try and look it up and schedule your trip so that you're not going to the resort the same day that everybody's on vacation. The French tend to take Saturday to Saturday vacations, so Saturdays are horrible. So let's talk about where to stay. When you look at the layout of Les Trois Vallées, you have Méribel in the center with Val Thorens on one side and Courchevel on the other. In my opinion, it makes more sense to stay in Méribel because if you stay in Courchevel, you're going to have to traverse Méribel just to get to Val Thorens and vice versa. It takes a long time to do that. Much easier to be centrally located and just jump over to Val Thorens or jump over to Courchevel. Unless you want to focus on one valley like Val Thorens, then by all means stay there. It makes more sense to do that if you're not going to be traversing over to Méribel or Courchevel very often. Same thing for Courchevel. Regardless of which valley you stay in, I think it makes most sense to be at as high an elevation as possible. Why? Insurance. It's early March and there's already not much snow here at the lower elevations. If you're staying in Les Allures in the Méribel Valley, there isn't even any snow. You have to take a gondola just to get up to where there's snow. Obviously, it's going to be a bit more pricey to stay at the higher elevations, but I think you're coming all the way to Europe. If you can swing it, try and stay at as high an elevation as possible for insurance purposes. So where is that in each of the three valleys? For Méribel, it's Méribel-Montserrat. That's where I'm staying on this trip. If you want to stay at Courchevel, the highest elevation and best bet in my book is Courchevel at 1,850 meters. Courchevel-Mérionde, Courchevel Village, Courchevel-La Praz, those are different areas, different elevations, so make sure you're choosing the right one if you want to get to the highest elevation. Courchevel 1,850. And in the Valley of Val Thorens, the town with the highest elevation is Val Thorens at 2,300 meters. Les Menuires and Saint-Martin-de-Belleville are much lower. Top of the Côte de Brune lift. Head over here, follow the signs to Val Thorens. Oh, I took a wrong turn. Okay, well, as I try to figure out how to get back on track, let's talk about a different way to emphasize how big Les Trois Vallées is, comparing skiable acreage. While we talk about this, let's pan around the skiable acreage of Val Thorens. And remember, everything you're seeing, you can ski or board, and this is just one of the three valleys of Les Trois Vallées. Let's start with one of the larger resorts in the mid-Atlantic of the US, Seven Springs, Pennsylvania, 285 skiable acres. Not that big, so let's move on to Vermont, Stowe, 485 skiable acres. Well, let's go with the largest resort on the east coast of the US, Killington, 1,509 skiable acres. Okay, we're getting bigger. Let's go out to the west coast, Aspen, only 650 skiable acres. That's always surprising to people. It's not that big. So let's go bigger. Snowboard and Jackson Hole, well-known resorts. Each of them is 2,500 skiable acres. Let's go even bigger out to California, Nevada, Palisades, Tahoe, 6,000 skiable acres. Okay, let's stop with the game. Biggest resort in the United States, Park City, 7,300 skiable acres. What? We can go even bigger. Largest resort in North America, Whistler Blackcomb, 8,171 skiable acres. Okay, so how do all of these stack up to Les Trois Vallées, France? Les Trois Vallées is 25,917 skiable acres. That means you can combine Whistler Blackcomb, Park City, Snowboard, and Jackson Hole into one resort, and it's still smaller than Les Trois Vallées. Well, have you wondered what Val Thorens is like? Yeah, this is it. Walking through Val Thorens due to a wrong turn. This is Courchevel Airport. If you're a true baller, forget flying to Geneva and then driving. Why not fly to Les Trois Vallées and land at Courchevel Airport? It's a very small runway. It won't be an instrument landing. You'll be flying on a very small plane. There are no runway lights, so have some courage. You can fly directly. To give you a little bit more perspective on the airport, the tarmac is about here, and you can see the runway actually goes downhill. Take off downhill, land uphill. No room for error. But you say, I want to stay at Maribel. I want to stay at Val Thorens, not Courchevel. I can't do it. Take a taxi. They got taxis here. Top of the Chairlift, we now go on to the Grand Fond gondola to finally get to the other side of this ridge. So as far as the towns, I'm staying at Maribel-Montserrat. All of them are going to be a little bit different than each other, but they will have the same basic things. They all have restaurants with plenty of outdoor seating to lounge around for après-ski. Bars, grocery stores, here there are two. Basically all the things that you would expect to find in a regular town. Interesting thing about the grocery stores in Maribel-Montserrat, plenty of wine and cheese, stereotypically. It's kind of cool walking around here during après-ski hours because they're still on the slopes. This is where we've been trying to get. The summit is up there. So we're going to have to go down and take 2 lifts up, and we'll have accomplished the mission of traversing les Trois Vallées. Lift tickets. You have the option to get one for any of the individual valleys, or you can get one for all 3, les Trois Vallées. If you get one for an individual valley, make sure you don't accidentally ski or board over into a different valley. At the crossover points, the signs for the other valleys state that you need to have a pass that's valid there. If you get a pass for les Trois Vallées, you don't need to worry. It's good in all 3 valleys. Epic Pass. If you have one, you get 7 days at les Trois Vallées without having to pay anything further. Just simply take your Epic Pass to the ticket counter, show it to them, and they'll give you a pass that works on their lift system. No matter where you decide to settle, the great thing is that there are so many Airbnb and hotel options throughout les Trois Vallées. One thing to know, however, is that some hotels and Airbnbs will only let you book Saturday to Saturday vacations. I'm staying in an Airbnb and I had a hard time finding one that would allow me to go Saturday to Sunday, 8 nights and 7 days. But I did, so it's out there, and you might have an easier time with a hotel. But just be aware of that issue. All right, finally at the summit. It is 1:30, so that means about 2 hours and 20 minutes if you subtract an hour for all the inefficiencies. That's how big this place is. Remember, we didn't even really ski any of the terrain in Courchevel or Maribel. It was just getting over here. Big. You